Good evening and welcome to the North Metro Mayors Association Candidate Forum for House District 35B. I'm Sarah Stroman. I'm the mayor of the city of Ramsey and a member of the North Metro Mayors Association. And on behalf of the city of Ramsey and North Metro Mayors, I'd like to welcome our 35B candidate, Peggy Scott. I'd also like to introduce the other candidate, Sam Beard, who was invited to the forum this evening but was unexpectedly unable to make it. I'd also like to welcome our audience who is here in attendance this evening. The North Metro Mayors Association was created in 1987 as a nonpartisan organization advocating for issues and opportunities of importance to Twin Cities North suburban citizens and cities. Our goal in sponsoring tonight's legislative candidate forum is to provide citizens with an opportunity to learn about the candidates' ideas and positions on issues that we believe are important to the future of our communities. We regret that we cannot cover all issues of interest tonight due to time constraints as we focus on city and state governance questions. We expect there will be other forums where other issues will be addressed. Given that we have just one candidate here this evening, I will pose 4 questions that were sent to the candidates previously, and we'll have set time limits on the answers. We'll start with an opening statement. We'll go ahead with the 4 questions, and then we'll allow you to do your closing statement. So with that, we would just go ahead and start with your opening statement, and you have 2 minutes for that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for those of you in the audience that are still here, even though there's another, I'm really not debating anyone but myself. Thank you again for taking the time to be here. I wish this room was full. I wish many more citizens would show up and see what their government is all about. My name is Representative Peggy Scott. I've lived in Andover for 18 years with my husband and my 2 children. I've been married for 30 years to Dave. My children are, one is a senior at NDSU and one is a freshman at Grand Canyon University in Arizona. So we are officially empty nesters. It's been a privilege and an honor for me to serve the cities initially of Ham Lake and Andover, and now as a result of redistricting 2 years ago, Andover, northern Coon Rapids, and 1 precinct in northeast Ramsey. During my time in the legislature, I've been a proponent of local control. I've also been a strong proponent of fiscal sanity and trying to balance budgets without raising taxes and without asking more of the taxpayer. I would like to thank the North Metro Mayors Association for having this forum. They're very, very diligent every 2 years, every election cycle of organizing these forums, and I am so thankful for those. And with that, I guess I'm ready for my questions.
All right, thank you. The first question then is, what are the top 3 issues you hear while campaigning? And if elected, what will you do to ensure that the 2014 House works in a collaborative way with the governor and Senate to address those issues?
Well, the first issue that I hear in my district is quit spending so darn much money. This last legislative session with complete Democrat control, all funds spending went up $9.4 billion. That is a record, not the kind of record that we want to be setting in the state of Minnesota. So that is one of the issues that I hear a lot about. The other is it's a very high tax state, particularly for small businesses. And thirdly, I hear a lot about education. People do want to have a quality education for their kids. They want the best teachers and principals and faculty in front of their students. And they want their children to thrive, obviously, and they want a future for their children. So as far as what I would be wanting to do to ensure that we work in a collaborative way to see that those issues are solved, when the Republicans were in the majority 4 years ago, we solved a $6.4 billion budget deficit without raising taxes. And no one died on the street. We did wise reform, and we cut the fat and projected spending. A lot of a lot of the spending and the reason that the general fund and the all funds budget is so high is because we don't start with zero-based budgeting every year. We start from where we left off, and many times, for instance, with this budget this year, there's already a projected increase of a certain percentage for the budget to increase. So I would like to see us start with all funds, or with a zero-based budgeting, and each agency having to start from zero and justifying their way up the ladder, so to speak, up the spending ladder. Secondly, taxing. I believe that we can do some things to lower taxes, particularly on our small businesses. The state of Minnesota is one of the only states that has a statewide.
Your time limit.
Okay, I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you.
Do I get to rebut myself?
You may be able to weave it into the next question.
All right, sounds good.
If reelected on November 4th, which committees would you seek to serve on, why, and how do those committee responsibilities mesh with the concerns of your citizens and city officials?
Thank you. First of all, I'm the lead, the minority lead on the Civil Law Committee. I've been on that committee since I've been in the legislature. Civil law basically takes we hear bills set on anything except for public safety issues, so except for breaking the law. And so it deals with insurance law, anything really that's not criminally based. It also includes data practices, and I'm kind of a data practices geek. And one of the things that I like to focus on is making government as transparent as possible, and also giving people the privacy that is granted them in the Constitution of the United States. So some of those issues that we covered this last session had to do with drones. So I would continue to want to be on the Civil Law Committee, and hopefully, if we're fortunate enough to be in the majority, to chair that committee, where I would also work on some tort reform. The second committee that I would like to be on and am currently on is energy. I believe that we should look at all forms of energy, but I believe that those energy sources have to stand alone without government propping them up. So I'd continue to want to be on the Energy Committee, focusing on net metering, and also that helps keep rates low for our folks here and for our businesses as well. And the third committee that I would like to try this year is GovOps. I'm a firm believer, as I said in my opening statement, that local control is the answer, and Government Ops is the committee where the Legislative Commission on Metropolitan Governance goes to with their bills. So this would be overseeing the Met Council, and I think that that's an area that needs a lot of reform.
Thank you. The third question then is, will you actively support increased funding, either user fees or bonding, for road and transit improvements?
Thank you.
If so, why? And if not, why not?
Thank you. Well, in the previous debate, we heard quite a bit about Highway 10, and it is a huge issue. And I worked collaboratively this last session with Democrats and Republicans on both sides of the aisle. We worked with all of the reps that represent the North Metro area, and we were able to secure the funding for the Armstrong Boulevard exchange. So I would continue to push for that. I think there are a couple of things that we can do to make our dollars for roads go further. One is to reform prevailing wage and possibly look at a prevailing wage, changing the way that is administered. Keep it prevailing wage here in the metro area, but in outstate, reforming that so that it's the transportation dollars go further. That would probably allow us about a 10% increase right off the top, and give us 10% more funds to deal with for highway expansions. As far as bonding, you can't bond for roads and highways. You can bond for bridges. So I believe that I would definitely be okay with bonding for bridges. I think there's some creative things that we can do with existing sales tax. maybe taking a small percentage, an eighth of a percent of a penny, and perhaps using that for road expansions and repairs.
Thank you. The final question is, if given the opportunity to ask one question of your opponent, what would that question be, and what would your answer to that question be?
Well, I guess I'd ask, where is he? My answer to that question is, I'm here. I guess that's my rebuttal to that, but certainly I think it's healthier for the community to hear two sides of the issue, to hear from both people that are on the ballot so they can base their decision on that. So that's really, it's kind of an odd question to ask when there's no one sitting on the other side of you.
Yep. All right. Well, with that, we can move to your closing statement if you'd like to provide any final remarks here, and you have 1 minute for that portion.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I'd like to ask the people in the room and in the audience out there just exactly if they're okay with the way things have gone the last 2 years under complete Democrat control. Under that, we've seen an increase in all-fund spending of $9.4 billion. That's a state record. We've also seen a $90 million, yes, it is $90 million office building being built for senators. If you divide that into the number of senators that will be in that building, that's $1.3 million per office. Most of us don't have homes worth that much or even a fraction of that much. They've forced daycare unionization on women-owned businesses. And no, it's not optional. If you take any sort of government funding for your daycare, if you've got someone that's getting daycare assistance that you're providing care for, you must be in the union and pay. You don't have to join the union, you do have to pay the dues. That's money that should be spent in caring for those children. So if everyone is happy with that in Minshire, where 280,000 Minnesotans lost the policy that they were on, that they were promised that they could keep, Minshire, Minnesota's version of Obamacare that's cost $160 million for a failed website. If everyone's okay with that, I would like you to continue to vote for the DFL. If they're not and you want to see positive change, if you want responsible government, if you want government that's also responsive to you, then I would ask for your vote on November 4th. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. That brings to a close this forum for House District 35B. Representative Peggy Scott, I want to thank you for being here this evening and participating. I want to thank the audience members who are here this evening to listen to what you have to say. I also want to thank the staff from QCTV and the City of Ramsey who provided production and logistical support to make this forum possible. And finally, I want to put in a plug for those of you who are Ramsey residents. The League of Women Voters will be hosting a candidate forum for Ramsey City Council candidates on Monday, October 13th at 6:30 p.m. in the Ramsey City Council chambers. And with that, again, thank you to all who participated this evening, and good night.